Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So, I wanted to do a little bit of a speed build, so I went ahead and made this video. It's the first time I'll be doing it on this channel, and I've kind of put it off doing these speed builds because I have a hard time talking to the camera like this for like a consecutive amount of time. So hopefully I do okay. I've actually already recorded this once and I didn't like it the first time. So I'm gonna try again. But I had a lot of fun doing this speed build. This is for a sim in my Rags to Riches challenge. Her name is Jeanette. She will be moving out pretty much the next time I play. And so I wanted to give her like her own penthouse just to kind of let her spread her wings as like an adult sim. So I put a lot of her personality into this build. It's very yellow, it's very plant, and I had a really good time building it. So as you can see, I had already done the shell when I first started this. I didn't realize I wasn't recording. So the shell was already done. And I wanted to do an industrial, like, artist penthouse is what I wanted. This was the whole idea of this build. So I did a lot of balcony space. I did a lot of big windows. I wanted it to be industrial while also still having a very light color palette to it. So that's kind of what you'll see. There is a lot of exposed brick inside the building, and there's also dark windows, which I kind of got the feel of like those were probably there for the first people that were here, and then she kind of added a lot of color herself. So I had a lot of trouble with some of the window placements. I knew I wanted these square windows. That's what I knew. But besides that, I had some weird spots like right here that I couldn't really figure out where I wanted the windows to go. And then I ended up figuring out it was fine. But I had a little bit of trouble figuring out the color palette because I didn't want it to be too dark because it didn't feel right, but I also didn't want it to be super light because I still wanted it to give that industrial feel. So I did kind of an in-between where I did do some light accents while sticking with the dark windows. You have the dark brick that's on the outside, and then I also put a lot of like piping. As you can see, I put like an air unit on the top of the building, and I thought it worked really well. So this part, I really wanted to put a pool in this build, but sometimes the pools are kind of difficult to fit on penthouses because, especially apartments and stuff, because they have strict ways you can put things. So I just ended up scooting it and fitting it in that little corner on the side of the build, and that actually is the patio that leads into the kitchen. So I really liked it there. It's a little small, but I liked it a lot. So I got my pool. That's all I wanted. I wanted a pool. I also really wanted to add a ton of plants with this build. She's a plant lover, so I wanted to make sure that even though we're in a penthouse, we're still going to add plants on the outside. So she has a couple of these little gardening areas, and I also made sure to put planters all around the outside of the build. And then I also had a little bit of trouble with the lighting, but then I ended up figuring it out. I liked these industrial looking ones, and I went with them throughout the whole house just because I get a little lazy when it comes to lighting. I don't really mind just putting it all over on the build, but I do end up changing and putting some sconces and stuff along the walls. So I really enjoyed that. And as you can see, we're now moving on into the kind of adding wallpaper. I made sure that I wanted to add exposed brick on the inside. There were a couple of places that I put exposed brick that I then end up changing. I know that I did that in the office space because I didn't really like how it went with the wallpaper I wanted to put in there. And then there is a couple of times where I put wallpaper and then I changed that wallpaper. So if a wallpaper changes, it's probably because I didn't like it and I changed it up. I also wanted to make sure that this house had a couple of rooms. I wanted a master bedroom, I wanted a guest room, and then I also wanted a room for an artist studio, and then I also wanted a office space. So I made sure there was a couple rooms, and then there's also 3 full baths and a half bath in this penthouse. So it's a pretty big build, and if at any point, this sim ends up having children for whatever reason, the guest room can be changed into, like, a nursery. So, I wanted to make sure there was enough rooms for that. I also really enjoyed the wallpaper that I put in this house. I wanted it to be clean 'cause I felt like as an artist sim, she would probably have a lot of artwork, and I didn't want the wallpaper or anything to kinda clash with that. So I made sure to do a lot of, like, neutral colors, but I wanted there to be accents of, like, yellow or green, so I made sure to put all that too. I had a really good time making this kitchen. At first, I was a little bit daunted by the yellow, and so I put the yellow down, then I was like, "Do I wanna do yellow?" And then I chose the yellow, and then I had trouble with the cabinets because I was like, "The cabinets don't have a matching yellow color." And so I ended up just doing a white cabinet, and then I did some open shelving units kind of around, just so that I can add some clutter, make it look a little bit different, and I wanted there to be a lot of light wood colors around this house as well, so I made sure to fit a lot of this, like, creamy color with the wood, and then some of the appliances also have a very, like, light cream color with them, and I really like that. I also really wanted this to have, like, a little breakfast nook somewhere. I didn't like the glass table I put down I didn't like it. I tried to do a couple different tables, and I was like, "I just don't want them to be in front of that," and then I was like, "Oh, I could just do, like, a little bar kinda spot." So I ended up putting some bar cabinets down and then put some more of that open shelving on the top so I can add a lot of different clutter items and stuff, and I really like how it turned out. It clips into the window a little bit, but I personally don't think it's that big of a deal, so I just left it, and I ended up really loving this kitchen. I loved the the color palette together. I really liked all the clutter items. I made sure to add, like, they have their own coffee bar in this one. Like, it's a big kitchen. It's very, very nice. I also had a lot of trouble with the shelves sometimes because I swear there are items that will clip, and then there are items that you would think would clip but won't clip onto the shelves. So I was having a lot of trouble with that. I actually, while doing this build, was really wanting to get that mod where you're able to, like, put things nice on the shelves. It's like a little red shelving thing, I don't even know. I have to look into that mod because it gets so frustrating when you're just trying to put stuff on a shelf and nothing is clipping except for the things that should not clip. But I ended up making it work. I really liked all of the plates and the mugs, and I found, like, a pepper and salt and pepper shaker and then, like, a couple of plants that I put up there. I wanted there to be artwork around. I also have never seen there's, like, this little mug clutter item that I put next to the coffee maker that I've never seen before, and I love it. I don't know what pack it comes with, but I love that little item. I'd have to look to see which one it is, but it is so cute. So, I also added a lot of these very, like, art deco type sconces on the walls. They're, like, yellow or, like, gold. I really liked them. I thought it was just such an artistic thing to put around the house, and it kinda adds a little bit of interest to every room. So, I had a really good time kind of putting those down, and then also finding a couple of different sconces that would help bring very warm light into the apartment without it being too, like, cluttered with a whole bunch of different sconces, so I had a really good time doing that. I also added a couple of balconies to certain bedrooms so you can only get to them by bedroom. So, like, the master has its own separate balcony, and I wanted to make sure I put a big plant out there, I wanted there to be seating, and I wanted there to be some artwork, and I think I also put a planter box out there too, just to be able to add something there and then be able to grow stuff. And then the master bedroom, I had a lot of fun with, although it's a very big room, so I did have trouble kind of filling up the space, but I found, like, this cute little, like, end table that is like a little leopard or something, and I loved it. I thought it makes so much sense in this bedroom. I feel like she totally would have it as an artist. She'd be like, "I probably found it at, like, maybe a thrift store, you know, or traded it for something, who knows?" But I just loved it. It made so much sense, and I wanted this room to be very cozy and very her. I wanted it to be yellow. I wanted it to have plants. I wanted to have some green accents. So I chose, like, leaf wallpaper. I have a couple of yellow and green in this room as well, and a lot of like light candles or very warm lighting in this room. And I also have a thing where I don't like when mirrors face the bed. I'm a little superstitious, so I try in every build to not have a mirror face the bed. And that actually was kind of hurting me in this build because as I was trying to fill in this space, I could not figure out where I wanted the mirror to go. I ended up putting it on the same wall as the bed, and I thought it was fine. I do end up putting some more clutter items there, but I kind of had a hard time figuring out if I liked it or not. But I kept it pretty clean and simple, so I end up really like this room. I think it's a very relaxing space, which I feel is like what a bedroom should be is very relaxing. And I also was trying to go through and find clutter items to add in the middle of this room, and I just ended up leaving bare because I was like, I cannot figure out for the life of me what I want to put in the space in between the door and the bed. I cannot figure it out. But I'm sure there could be something. You could probably change the mirror that I put for like a vanity or something, or even switch things around and make it a little bit more cluttered in a way. But I ended up really liking the way I put it, so I also really enjoyed her bathroom. I wanted there to be definitely a tub in front of the window because it's just such a nice you might as well put a tub there. And I also had enough space to put a his and her sink and then also a double shower. So there's 2 showers in this room, and I really like the gold accents with the white. I just felt like it worked really well, and then I wanted to put some green, so I put some plants, and I also find a little bit later, I scrolled through the catalog for forever for this item, but there was a little towel rack that I was trying to find that was really cute. It reminds me of like those towel warmer racks people will have that keep your towels warm, which sound so nice. I honestly would totally love to get one of those, but I ended up putting it this one because I was like, oh, that's so nice, and it was perfect. It just fit so well. And I also went around at some point and I started adding curtains into both of those rooms, so I really like the big curtains that are on the side of her bed. They're so regal, and I felt like they fit her so well. I also move on into the dining room. So dining room gave me a lot of trouble. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like that there wasn't a lot of lighting in this room, and that's on me. I should have kind of paid more attention to where all the walls were and stuff, but I ended up making it work. It's kind of a cozy, almost like dramatic room, which if you ever have guests over in this room, it's kind of a vibe. And I wanted there to be a little bar area, so I put a little bar cart, and then the actual bar itself is that globe that we have. So I thought they fit really well. The globe just makes sense because I wanted to find a lot of items that were very like eccentric or something that was out of the norm. So the globe just fit. And then in this hallway leading upstairs, I just put a quick little painting and then a couple more sconces, and I pretty much kept that room as is. I wanted it to be fairly simple. I didn't really want to clutter it a whole bunch. Like I said, I wanted this house to be very clean. So I kept it very organized. There's not a lot of clutter, and it's fairly modern for a industrial style. And then this is actually one of the other bathrooms. I wanted to kind of pretty much match all of the bathrooms together. So a lot of them are the same. They have like the same toilets, they have the same sink. They just have different art pieces in some of them. And believe in some that I added plants, but that was pretty much the only difference between all of those rooms. I don't really make a whole bunch of different bathrooms. I just copy and paste, and that works so far. So, I also had a lot of fun making the entryway for this apartment. I really wanted there to be kind of this landing area where you have a seat and you can kind of take your shoes off and come into the apartment, and it kind of gives you an idea of the person that's living here. There's some artwork on the wall. It's very cozy. It's relaxing, and then there's also that entryway table that has the flowers on it. I feel like it's just super pretty, and it's kind of like a waiting room almost. And I don't really mind that. I also had a lot of trouble finding curtains that I liked for this penthouse. I swear we don't have curtains that go together, and it always bugs me every single time I go to do a build. I cannot figure out where and, like, what curtains I want. I also really enjoyed this little sitting room that's in the middle. I added the lip couches because they just fit so well, and then the rug that's underneath them, I love so much. I think it's such a pretty color, and I put some sconces around in that room, and I believe I put a plant on top of that table, and I just left it like that. I You can see from, like, the glass windows when you first come onto the landing into that room, and I wanted it to be a very clean look while having, the artist kinda sprinkled in there and stuff. I also really like this office space. The wallpaper, this is probably my favorite wallpaper in the game. I love the flower wallpaper that we got with the romance pack that we had. Why can't I remember the name? Well, I just cluttered it a little bit. I added a bookcase. There's a couple other skill building things in this room. You have the computer, the chess table. I wanted there to be nice paintings up here, a plant, and it's kind of a darker room compared to the rest of the house, but I like it. It works. It has the green and yellow color scheme and it's plant. It's very nice. The living room I absolutely loved. I wanted to make sure that when I did this that it had a ton of windows. I wanted there to be huge floor to ceiling windows in the living room specifically, and so I made sure to add these, and I ended up putting the TV up on the wall here. I went for a pretty big one. If I could have gone bigger, I probably would have, but I just I did like fairly medium. And then I kind of figured out my color scheme, and once I did that, I pretty much went from there. I wanted light wood. I wanted there to be some green. There's like the cream color in this room. I really enjoy the planter boxes that I kind of put in front of the windows that are the bamboo. I really like them. It adds a little bit more touch of that plant into this room and a little bit of greenery, I feel like it's very nice. And I also wanted to kinda clutter it up to make it look live-in, so I found there's, like, a little magazine clutter item, and then there's also a blanket clutter item that I wanted to make sure I put in here, and I put, like, a little gaming console and then also some gaming, like, board games on in this room, and I just feel like it's such an entertainment room. If you had guests over or anything, everybody would probably be in that room, and I loved it. I also really love this huge balcony that's on the back. Originally, I was gonna put the pool out here, but it did not fit in any of the sections I tried to put, so I just put it in the corner, and then I ended up just going, "You know what? Let's just put a giant bar here." So I put a whole grill area, you have all the counter spaces here, and then you have the table in the middle as well. It's actually underneath and it's all covered, so I think that would be really nice because, like, if it were to rain, you can still come out into this balcony and you won't get rained on. But I wanted to make sure you had a grill. We had a pizza oven out here. There's a couple of nice tables. There's a lot of plants on this balcony as well. I wanted to make sure there's planter boxes. There's another seating area on the side. And it also has like a little fireplace, so you can sit up here if it's a little chilly or anything. There's also a telescope up here. And then I believe I think there's a flower arranging table and then a bonsai tree. And I really, really like this area. I think it came out really well. It's very skill building, so, like, you have pretty much all the skill building items right on this balcony, and that's very, very nice. I had a really good time making this balcony feel used, I wanted to have stuff out there, and I wanted there to be stuff going on so they'll actually go out there and use it because it's a huge balcony space, and I felt like I achieved that. So then we come back inside, and I start doing the upstairs. I had a little trouble with this balcony that's, like, above the dining area. I knew when I started building this, I wanted there to be split level, so I did the split level, and then I had trouble with the lighting in the dining room because when you put lights on the second floor, they don't really shine down to the bottom one. But I wanted the big chandelier, so I just kind of accepted it and just went on my day with that. I also added a little bench seating kind of spot in this room, and I added some more art pieces on a little table in the hallway, and I wanted there to be a pretty nice rug that was sitting on the ground as well. So I kept it pretty simple. I just wanted there to be some clutter items. There's a couple of artwork as well along the wall on before you go into the art studio. And then this upstairs space has the guest room There's another big balcony up there that I'll show in a bit, and I absolutely honestly, I love this penthouse. It's so nice. If there was a place I could live, I would love to live in this penthouse, okay? At least for like a little bit, because it's such a vibe. You have so many plants, you have so many windows, there's so many balcony spaces you could just sit and like chill at. And I had such a good time building this. So now we went ahead and moved on into the artist studio. I wanted to make sure this was filled with art stuff. I made sure that you had at least two guitars, there's a mic stand, there's a piano, there's like two different art easels up here. There's also a violin in this room, and then the DJ mixing set. I wanted it to be an artist's dream. If you were into it, it's in this room, okay? I had a really good time. It also has a bigger balcony up on this spot, and I wanted there to be an indoor and outdoor easel. So I made sure to save room on this balcony for another easel, and I added some more seating area out there as well so you can just enjoy the day and do some art. I also had some trouble picking out paintings in this room, weirdly enough, because I wanted there to be gold accents, but a lot of the gold pieces we have in The Sims are very ornate. Like, I feel like they're just a little too over the top, especially when you go into like the music stuff, which is what I wanted. I wanted something music inspired, but they're just too much. So I ended up putting just like a little glowing light on the wall and then just a simple little painting, and then I put a really interesting rug. I really loved the rug I picked out. It's like a yellow and it has interesting patterns on it, and it fit in this room so well. So I did that. I added some plants. I added some hanging plants. I had a lot of fun doing that. I feel like it just looks so good over the grand piano. It's just such a vibe. Like, I would love to be in this room, and if I could play the piano, I would be up here playing the piano all the time. All the time. I also had a little bit of trouble fitting more stuff on this balcony because I didn't realize at the time there's a little bit of a weird corner in on the upstairs that I at first was like, what do I put in this spot? And then I was like, oh, right, we have a woodworking table. I haven't put that down. So it fit very perfectly in that spot. I did try to put some balcony, like some lounge chairs and stuff, which just it wasn't gonna work. But I'm happy that I ended up finding like that the woodworking table would fit perfectly here, and that's kind of what I went with. I also made I believe, put a little wind chime up in that room as well, and I feel like, could you imagine doing art in this room, having the balcony doors open with the wind chime kinda just breezing through and making really cute sounds? It would just be so relaxing. I feel like you would have such a good time doing art in that space, and it would just be it's exactly what you need. It'd be calm and quiet so you can make your own noise. I just love it. So this is the balcony that's on the outside of this build. I at first was going to make it like a bar section where there's an actual bar, and then I was like, wait, we have an item where you're able to just put it's like a projector screen. You just put like a projector screen up. And I really like the idea of it just being like another cute area you can go with your friends and stuff. And so I put that down. I put a couple seating things out there. There is another grill up there, and then there are some planter boxes, and I think it ended up turning out just amazing. I love it. It's such a nice section that you can just go and have a good time with like family or friends. I just loved it. So this is the bathroom that's attached to the guest room. I wanted it to be a little different while still having the exact same items in here. So I had one shower head, there's a tub in this room, there's one sink. You could put his or her sink in this room. If you wanted to make this the master bedroom, you totally could do that too. But I enjoyed cluttering this one. I wanted it to be, like a guest room. There's like extra towels on the counter. There's not like personal items in that room, so I wanted it to be pretty simple. I also had a lot of trouble with the curtain rods. I didn't realize, but the Desert Lux curtains, which are the ones that I use primarily in this build, they do have an item that works with them, but it's in the shelving stuff, and I didn't know that until after I finished this build. So, ignore the other, I guess, curtain rod things that I put up. they're not supposed to be used with the curtains in that kit, but I ended up doing it anyways because I didn't know there was another item that could be used for them. So I'll have to go back and fix that, but I just kept it for now. And then this is the guest room. I really like the green color in here. I feel like it's very relaxing, and I wanted it to have an extra desk space. There's a bookshelf in here. There is a dresser in this room as well, and there is a mirror. I do end up putting a mirror facing the bed in this room. And the reason for that is because I was talking to myself and I was like, "Okay, you're just being a little too there's a little too much going on, okay? You can just put the mirror where you need it. It's fine. Whatever." And I also ended up putting like just a couple of nice art pieces in this room. I wanted them to be just pretty relaxing. There's a couple candles, there's some more clutter on this bookcase. I wanted it to be kind of like you can tell it's a guest room because they've put some extra stuff in this room. So like there's like file work that's in here. There's like a couple of open random cardboard boxes in this room. But I ended up really liking this room. Like, I feel like it's exactly what I wanted. I want it to be cozy and relaxing for your guests when they stay over. I also forgot that this balcony was up here, so I didn't put anything on this balcony. There, you can easily fit like some chairs and like a table out on that balcony, and I just completely forgot that it was out there. I completely skipped it. So maybe I'll have to go back and fix that. But there is a little balcony space and it's like its own private balcony and I really, really like it. And as you can see, we're kind of doing some extra clutter bit around. I wanted to find some more pipes to put on the outside. There's like a little vent that I ended up putting on there that I think is actually with the technically Star Wars pack, but I thought it was fine. I was like, I like the extra air conducts and things that are on the outside, so I left them just like that. But we have come to the end of the speed build. I had a lot of fun building this. It's the first time I've done a speed build, and I did it in two different parts, and I had a really good time doing it. So I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!